Hello and welcome to Power Skills with Janna. I'm Janna Jones, your leadership development specialist, coach, and mentor, supporting you as you build the most powerful skills in your toolkit. Today, we are diving into a topic that's absolutely essential for growth, both personally and professionally: mastering the art of seeking and receiving feedback. Now, feedback is an incredibly powerful tool for self improvement, but it is often underutilized or even misunderstood. In this episode, I'm going to explain why feedback is so important, how to seek it effectively, and how to receive it with grace so that you can truly leverage it for your own development. Whether you're a leader, a team member, or someone simply looking to grow, I think this episode has something for you. Now, let's start with the foundations. Why is feedback so important? Well, at its core, feedback is about gaining an external perspective on your actions, your behaviors, your decisions. It's really easy to get caught up in our own viewpoints. But the reality is, how we see ourselves isn't always how we show up for others. Other people's perception is, in fact, their reality. And that can be quite different from our own. So, good feedback helps us to bridge that gap. Research shows that organizations with a strong feedback culture have higher employee engagement, better performance, and greater innovation. This is because feedback fosters an environment of continuous improvement, a growth mindset, even. It helps individuals to recognize their blind spots, to leverage their strengths, and to make adjustments that will ultimately lead to better outcomes. But the benefits of feedback extend far beyond our workplaces. On a personal level, receiving feedback helps you to build self awareness, which is actually the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. It allows you to understand how your actions impact others, and it gives you the tools to grow and develop in ways that are valuable and meaningful to you as a unique individual. So, we know that feedback is important, but how do you go about seeking it effectively? Let's talk strategically. It's really important to be proactive. Do not wait for feedback to come at you. An annual or even quarterly performance review is actually too long to wait. If you are doing yourself a disservice by waiting for this, consider how you might actively seek it out instead. Done well, this shows that you are committed to your growth and open to learning. And perhaps you can ask for feedback after completing a project, for example, following up on a meeting, or during a regular one on one with your supervisor, your manager once removed, or even with peers. Specificity is the key to feedback. So when you're seeking feedback, it might be helpful to be specific about what it is that you want to know. Perhaps instead of asking, "Do you have any feedback for me?" which puts the other person in a place where they have to consider if it's a need for them, or perhaps they might like to share an opportunity that they have seen. It puts them in a position that they have to do the thinking and they have to do a lot more work. Whereas if you wanted to try something that was a little bit easier and was going to give you the specificity that you needed, you might try something like, well, that project or presentation I just did was such a stretch opportunity for me. I was wondering if perhaps you may have some feedback on how I handled it, or I'd really value your opinion on any opportunities for further improvement that you might have for me in future. Perhaps even in a one on one with your leader or mentor, you might consider asking, "So, I've been working on my own leadership development and, in particular, my communication. Is there an area that you think I might be able to improve upon?" Specific questions can often yield much more actionable feedback right from the start. My other recommendation, of course, would be choosing the right people, because not all feedback is created equal, and some people are certainly much better at it than others. So, this may be a little bit of trial and error at the start, but seeking your own specificity can also help you. As you navigate this, consider seeking feedback from people who have a good understanding of your work and whose opinions you really trust as well. This could be a mentor, a manager, a peer, key stakeholders, or even a team member who sees your work from a different perspective. Building rapport and psychological safety in seeking feedback is absolutely key. Now, people may hesitate at first to give honest feedback if they're worried about how you will react. It may be really important that you make it clear that you value their input and that you're open to hearing both positive and constructive feedback. Reinforce that their honesty is important and that you are genuinely interested in feedback as it will help you grow. Then make sure you follow through with that commitment. Respond productively. Don't react in the moment, and thank them for their time and consideration. This will help you to build rapport and psychological safety, not just for now, but also in future interactions and engagements with that person. Ask for feedback regularly because feedback should actually be a part of your regular routine. And as I mentioned before, don't just let this be something that you seek out during your performance reviews, or worse, that you're subject to during your performance reviews. Because regular feedback does help you to make continuous improvements. It allows you to get insights as to how you're going with your progress, and it helps to keep you aligned with your expectations. So, now that you have sought out feedback, how do you receive it in a way that's productive? Because receiving feedback can be quite challenging, especially if it's not what you were hoping to hear. But how you respond really makes all the difference, both in the moment, for the relationship you have with that individual, but also your own confidence and in the future. Start by listening actively. When you're receiving feedback, focus on listening without interrupting. Even if you don't agree with everything that's being said, give the other person the opportunity to share their perspective fully. This shows that you respect them and allows them to consider their point of view and you to consider their point of view before reacting. Consider regulating your emotions. It is so natural to feel defensive or upset when it comes to receiving constructive feedback. Take a moment to breathe and compose yourself before responding. Respond, don't react. Remember, the goal of feedback is to really help you improve, not to criticize you personally. Being able to perceive it as a helpful opportunity, a growth opportunity for your development, that will help you to cultivate a growth mindset and respond in a much more productive way. Clarify and ask questions, because if something in the feedback isn't clear, it's okay to ask for clarification. This could be as simple as saying, I really appreciate that. Is there any example that you could perhaps give me? It would be really helpful for me to understand a little bit further. Or is there a way that I could approach this differently in future? Asking questions shows that you're really engaged, committed, and willing to learn. It also helps you to seek out the specifics that are actionable and meaningful for you. Express gratitude. I feel like this should go without saying, but that's not the case all the time. So always, always, always thank the person for their feedback, regardless of whether it was positive or constructive. Feedback is truly a gift, and expressing that gratitude reinforces with them and yourself that you value their input and you are committed to your growth. Reflect and act. After receiving feedback, make sure you take the time to reflect on it. Consider how you can apply the insights to improve and then take action. Whether it's making a small adjustment to your approach or setting a new goal for your development or actioning that feedback, it is critical to making it meaningful. Follow up. When someone gives you feedback, consider that this person is actually investing their time, effort, and energy in your growth and development. Of course, when you start to think about it this way, you might start to understand why I'm recommending that you always follow up. Perhaps once you've considered how you might action their feedback and put it into practice, try something different. As a next step, you might like to circle back with them. Share what you took away from their feedback, what you have done with it, and how it's been of value to you. In this way, you are at the very least solidifying that rapport and psychological safety. And at best, you are showing this person how committed to your growth and development you are. And you never know. They may actually end up being your sponsor and advocating for your leadership when you aren't in the room. Because now they know that you are committed to your growth and development. You are actioning it in meaningful and productive ways. And so, of course, they want to back you. Absolutely. Go you. Even with the best of intentions and a strategic plan up your sleeve, seeking and receiving feedback isn't always easy. So rather than ignoring it, let's discuss some common challenges and how we might start to overcome them. And in the interest of keeping a growth mindset in our approach, we are absolutely going to refer to them as challenges, not problems. One challenge might be the fear of negative feedback. It is perfectly natural to fear negative feedback, but also important to remember that constructive feedback is an opportunity for growth. So you were really just choosing your hard, and I'm guessing you don't want to stay stuck or you wouldn't be here. So perhaps you might instead utilize the opportunity to reframe your mindset, to see it as a tool for your improvement rather than a personal affront. Challenge 2 would be receiving vague feedback. Oh, this one is the bane of my existence. Remember, I said specificity is key. As a leadership coach, I would love to give all leaders the ability to give great feedback, but it doesn't quite work like that. It takes work and it takes courage. And unfortunately, sometimes feedback can be too vague to be useful. If someone tells you you need to be more proactive, for example, you may like to ask for specific examples or suggestions on how you can do just that. This may help you turn vague feedback into actionable steps. Challenge 3 might be something like feedback overload, because this, as it's becoming more and more important in organizations and to leaders, it can feel like a little bit too much at times, especially in times of change where feedback is more prominent. Receiving too much feedback at once can be incredibly overwhelming. Perhaps you might instead try to prioritize the feedback that aligns with your most important goals and focus on making small, manageable changes over time, incremental steps. Or even share some of your growth opportunities with a trusted confidant, or perhaps a mentor who may support you in getting strategic about prioritizing those opportunities and taking one step at a time. Another challenge might be cultural differences in feedback. I come against this every now and again. Cultural differences in feedback may also feel challenging because in some cultures, direct feedback is very common, while in others, it is delivered much more subtly. So being aware of those differences, especially in diverse or global teams, that can help you to respond productively. If you're unsure of how to interpret feedback, do not hesitate to ask for clarity. So whether you're a leader or a team member, a project manager, or a parent with a teenager, actually, we can all contribute to creating feedback in a rich feedback environment where everyone gets to feel empowered to give and receive feedback. Let's start leading by example, demonstrating that you value feedback by seeking it out regularly and responding to it positively. When others see you embracing feedback, they are much more likely to do the same. Encouraging peer feedback, creating opportunities for team members to give each other feedback. This may be as simple as adding an opportunity for a values share or celebrating successes into your team's meeting. Peer feedback can be incredibly valuable. We gain a better understanding of how we are able to achieve greater success and how others like to work with us when it comes from those we operate closely with on a day-to-day basis. Normalizing feedback is key. By making feedback a regular part of team meetings, project reviews, and performance discussions, the more it is integrated into daily work, the less intimidating or uncomfortable it becomes. Recognizing efforts to give feedback. If feedback is uncomfortable or something new in your work area, acknowledging the thank yous, acknowledging the people that take time to share courageously, to generously share their feedback. This reinforces the importance of feedback and also starts to encourage much more of it in the future. What we focus on, we amplify. And in focusing on mastering the art of seeking and receiving feedback, we can effectively amplify our growth and development as well as those around us. It has been my absolute pleasure to connect with you today in Power Skills with Janna. If you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have, do not forget to subscribe for more insights or opportunities on your leadership. Remember, feedback is such a powerful tool for growth. Whether you're seeking it or receiving it, approach feedback with an open mind, a willingness to learn, a growth mindset, As always, I would love to hear your thoughts, so please do not hesitate to drop me a message via Power Skills Development across socials. I'd love it if you would take the time to leave a review, as it helps other great leaders find us and connect, and it really means the world to me. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and wherever you are, stay safe and have a fabulous rest of your week.